So as of today, we've told you already about £500,000 worth of jobs. But of course, in this competitive market, if you're looking for a job, how can you stand out from the crowd of applicants for the job when you go along? And hopefully you'll get an interview in the first place. So how do you make sure you get an interview? Getting in the room is one of the most important things. Fortunately, we are joined now by our very own jobs guru, James Innes. James, how are you?
Hello, good afternoon, Martin. I'm fine. My voice is slightly hoarse, but it's not COVID-19. It's just it's just screaming at the children too much, I think.
Well, as we know, I mean, I don't think we've had a major unemployment issue since the 1980s, and it's certainly not a major problem at the moment. But there will be lots more people looking for work, and it's really important that you stand out on paper, first of all, and then in an interview situation, isn't it?
Absolutely. I mean, we saw things get fairly bad in 2008, 2009, but nothing like what's going on at the moment. I mean, I saw one good news headline today where some jobs have been created, and I virtually misread it, thinking it was more job losses, basically. So that's what I'm so used to seeing. So, yeah, you used the phrase getting in the room, how to get in the room. Obviously, the initial step is the CV, and in many cases, the cover letter as well. You want to stand out from the crowd, clearly, that's essential, but you want to do it for the right reasons, not the wrong ones. And that's the first thing I would say is, avoid the obvious mistakes. I say obvious, but so many people do them. I think a recent survey we did here at the CV Centre, nearly a good third and approaching a half of CVs and cover letters had at least one spelling or grammatical error. That will certainly make you stand out, and it'll be goodbye, you are the weakest link, straight in the bin kind of thing. So in terms of standing out for the right reasons, well, I think all CVs pretty much say what you did, when you did it, where you did it. Some obviously better than others. And some go so far as to focus on achievements rather than responsibilities. That's good too. But what really makes a difference is really thinking through about your own key selling points, or even better, your key differentiators, those aspects of you that might, tick boxes with the reader that other candidates don't. Why should they hire you in particular? Why should they get you in that room? And why do they want to talk to you further? So many CVs fail to do this. And, of course, to really do this effectively, you must focus on tailoring your CV for each application. Don't just spam everyone with exactly the same one. So, I mean, there's no silver bullet, but, you do reap what you sow. You need to put in that effort with each and every application would be my key advice on this front.
And also you have to be sparing as well, because, I mean, nobody, if you have a job that, I don't know, hundreds of people have applied to, nobody on any panel is going to sit down and read through a mammoth CV, are they?
I mean, amongst the reasons for standing out for the wrong reason, I mean, over the years, I've seen pretty much everything when it comes to CVs. And the record was a 29-page CV. Certainly, that's going to go. You'll stand out. You'll give them a good laugh, and it'll go straight in the bin. So, absolutely focusing on. I mean, when you are sitting down with a stack of hundreds of CVs, you can very quickly put about 90% of them straight in the bin. You honestly can. You pick up each one, you look through it, spelling mistake, straight in the bin. First half page taken up by an ugly photo, straight in the bin. They've got train spotting under their hobbies, straight in the bin. You can whittle through it very, very quickly. You're then left with far more than you can actually interview. And that's when you actually start reading them for more than 10, 15 seconds. You actually will read right way through the whole thing. And that's where, as I say, you need to communicate not just what you did, when you did, where you did it, not just achievements. I mean, certainly achievements, it's very important to communicate those, but really you need to be thinking, putting yourself in the reader's shoes, in the recruiter or potential employer's shoes, and thinking, what is it that they want? What is it they're really looking for? And there's no one-size-fits-all for that. That's why, each one, you can start with a good, strong core template for your CV, but after that, it does have to be tweaked and adjusted, targeted, tailored for each separate application.
Yeah, especially if you're going for a job that is not an area where you already have experience. It's more, I would imagine, about selling you as a person and the skills that you can bring to this rather than, what you may have done in the past, which isn't relevant at all.
Yeah, I think that's a key phrase there, selling you as a person. You're talking about instances where people are taking a change of direction in their career. Well, I've never seen quite so many people in the past few months take a change in direction in their career. I've never seen anything like it in 25 years in this line of work. But selling the person you are, I would say that applies to all CVs. all applications. That is what it's about. It's really who you are. An American would say, what your brand is or what your elevator pitch is. That's what you need to communicate. But you're absolutely right. Even more so when it's a change of direction. Obviously, you need to focus on those transferable skills. We hear that all the time. There will be elements, obviously, of your previous experience which will stand you in good stead going forwards now in your career. That's absolutely vital. But what you need to explain is why you're making this change in direction. If the reader can't get their head around what's going on in your world, then the CV, straight in the bin, basically. And don't leave them, thinking of, oh, right, okay, so they just want any old work. Again, make it clear to them why you want this line of work. What's your reasoning? Why have you chosen this? Yes, it might not be the ideal situation for you. At the moment, recruiters, employers, they understand this. There are millions of people struggling greatly. They do get this. You're not alone in that. But just explain yourself, explain your reasoning and thinking to them. If you raise question marks in a recruiter's mind, your CV will go in the bin.
Okay, so hopefully you get past that stage and you get yourself an interview. In terms of, how you present yourself in an interview situation, any top tips?
Interviews. Well, I mean, yes, you've got your foot in the door. You've got in the room. That's certainly a good start. It's really along the same lines. It is, you reap what you sow. Plan, prepare, research. That's what will really make the difference. You need to make sure you really do understand what they're looking for in and out, the details of the role in particular. Make sure you really understand what the organization is about. You've gone through their website. You've looked at recent press releases, whatever it is. I mean, it's not just about impressing the interviewer by knowing all this and having done this homework. One of the key problems, the number one problem people have with interviews is nerves, jitters. And the best way to combat that is preparation. As you research the job, research the organization, make sure you know what you're talking about. Think through what they might ask you, not just with respect to the job, but also with respect to your CV and with respect to the organization, maybe the industry as a whole. The more you think about it, the more you start to draft possible answers. Obviously, you don't script them out and repeat them like a parrot because that doesn't look good, but think them through as much as possible. Plan and prepare. It'll do wonders for your confidence. Confidence and a lack of nerves, that really does make a difference. Those are the big differences there. And it sounds totally ridiculous, I do understand, Martin, but show up on time. About 10% of people are late for their interview, even when it's on Zoom. A recent survey showed that, things haven't changed. 10% of candidates were late turning up in person. Even on Zoom, 10% of candidates are late for their interview. It sounds obvious, but, check the technology out, first of all. You might just need a new update on Zoom. Make sure that it's all working well before, basically. Simple little things.
And how formal should you consider it? Because, there'll be different sort of levels of formality on interviews depending on where you're going. But should you always treat it as a very formal thing, specifically in what you wear, amongst other things?
I think personally, obviously going in person and for an interview and going to an interview on Zoom or going to an interview and being on Zoom for an interview, I don't personally see very much difference. I think you should dress appropriately. It is an interview. And by appropriate, I mean it depends on your line of work, but try to dress, just slightly smarter than you would be as you intend to turn out every day for that job. So it depends on your line of work. Some lines of work, they expect you to be suited and booted. Others, they certainly don't. But just try to be slightly smarter than average everyday wear for that particular job, even if you're sitting at home on your sofa or at the kitchen table. And the other big difference really is, make sure you focus on your environment. That is the big difference, between going in person and being on Zoom or indeed Skype, is that you get to control your environment. Put a blanket over the African grey parrot, take the batteries out of the doorbell, make sure the phone's off the hook, and I don't know, be careful you haven't got any dodgy books behind you on the shelf or something. Whatever it is, you're in charge of that environment. You go to someone else's premises for an interview, they're in charge of the environment. You do it in your house, you're in charge of it. That's something very much to focus on too.
Okay, some top tips there. Thank you for that. And hope that's helped you if you're looking for work at the moment. James Innes, thank you very much for talking to us. And again, we'll have another job for you just after the news at 4 o'clock here on BBC Radio Leicester.